everyone. Welcome. Thank you all for coming. Today's focus is personal finance.
What is your go-to thing that you buy when you're treating yourself? Coffee, boba tea, okay, Chipotle, all right. Chai latte, dessert, yes, any kind of dessert. We're talking cake, pie, ice cream, sushi. I love it. Potato chips, nice. Ramen, yes. I hear you on that one. Yes, pho. How come everything is food related? I mean, we've got either beverages or we've got edibles here going on. Why are you learning money to this point? Okay, parents, a finance class in high school, okay. YouTube even, all right. Podcast, love that. Finance class, yes. Good answers, good answers. Hard knocks, oh, I love that one. Is anyone out there investing yet? Okay, personal account, okay, 401k, yeah. Roth IRA, the ETF, stocks. Very good, very good. All right, I love all this. Tonight we're talking about understanding our ability to multiply money and investing with age as our advantage. You may be going to school and you're not starting your career yet. And that is an amazing time to learn about finances. We're going to talk about 3 rules of thumb. We're going to make this very simple so that you leave with a simple understanding, 3 rules of thumb, so that you can have enough confidence to take action and wade through this world of finances, which can sometimes feel overwhelming and intimidating. Money is a personal thing, so even though we're going to talk about these 3 rules of thumb and a very general way of understanding how money works in terms of investing, you still want to, at some point, see a professional to get a customized idea of what's right for you, a plan. 62 years old is the common time to retire, and then 22 years old is actually one of the most common times to start your career. One of the biggest financial regrets of our retirees is, I wish I could go back and do it over again. I wish I knew then what I know now. I wish I saved more earlier, right? So we have what's called the retirement crisis in our nation. And I think we need to be intentional about listening to what is being said. Now, that's not everybody. The funny thing is, we've got people in our 50s also saying the same thing. And in our 40s, I myself didn't learn about finances and feel confident until later in life. And I started saying, I wish I could go back and do it over again. So even I am saying the same thing. So there's something magical about getting started early, even though today is the best day to jump on things if you're just getting started. We hear things like this: save early. Make your money work for you. That's another big piece of financial advice. And how about this one? Compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. You know who's attributed to saying that is actually Albert Einstein, whether he really is or not. The internet says that he is, so who knows? If compound interest is equal to, say, one of the 7 wonders of the world here, the pyramids of Giza, the great one, is made of 2.5 million blocks. And each one of those blocks is about 2.5 tons. These are some big Legos. He's trying to say, this is a big, big deal, like so big for your life. But most people hear this advice and we don't really do much about it. We act timidly with money. Compound interest is actually when you invest money, and it is the rate that it's growing, right? It's money multiplying upon itself, upon itself, upon itself, which we'll get more into. So money is big. The average person earns about $2 million across their lifetime. We make about 1.5 transactions per day for the rest of our life. Many of us may make 30,000 financial transactions across our life. We may go to school about 18 years to learn how to make money, work 40 years making the money, and retire 20 plus some years spending the money. So money is a very big thing that we are immersed in for our lives. And today we're going to talk about getting the motivation to invest. So many of us feel intimidated and overwhelmed by money, and we feel like there's so much information out there that we may not even want to act. We get analysis paralysis when there's too much information. And I myself felt like that in many of my working years early on. Take a look at this matrix. It's got 3 columns. On the left column is an age that we might start our career at. In the middle column is the length of our career. And in the right column is the rate of return, or the amount of money that our money is earning when we invest. Thousands of combinations here, but what we're going to do is we're going to lock down the most common scenario. So look at this. The average person starts their career around age 22, works for 40 years, and a common rate of return that money is earning is 7.2% when it's in, say, like a 401k retirement plan, or when you're getting stocks bonds or index funds, a very common way of investing. What about this number, this 7.2% rate of return? It's kind of a magic number. Why? Because it leads to the easiest math. If finances is overwhelming and scary for most of us, and most of us are not taking the sort of action that would lead to a healthy lifestyle, we just need simple solutions. And 7.2 leads to the easiest math. You'll see why. Down below, you'll see this jagged line. This is actually a look at the stock market and how it goes up over time. So it's indicating the value of the United States stock market over time. You can see it goes up and down, little ups and downs, but it's generally going up over time. And that's kind of what that 7.2 represents, is how money goes up over time. Now, before we get into these 3 rules of thumb, we just need to understand, many of you put it in the chat, some of the most common ways of investing, which many of you are doing, right? The 401k retirement plan. So if you work for a company that supplies this, it's actually my favorite way to invest. If you have this option available to you when you start working at a company, awesome. The one below, the individual retirement account, IRA, is another way to invest. You can do both a 401k and an IRA, or if your company doesn't provide a retirement plan for you, you can start your own when you're 18 and older. Add a brokerage firm. Some of the common brokerage firms are Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard, and Robinhood. These are ways available to everybody, really accessible ways. This session is really about understanding your multiplying power, not on how to start a brokerage account. But it's worth mentioning here, the S&P 500 index is the 500 top public companies of the United States. So companies like Microsoft, Apple, Netflix, Google, they're all in there, Costco. And it's a way to invest in those companies. And if those companies are doing well and growing, you get to share in that with getting that 7.2% or so rate of return every year as they grow. Target date mutual funds is another common way to invest. That's a way of looking at when you plan to retire and targets that date and changes what you're investing in to make it more conservative over time. Starts out aggressive, gets more conservative as you land into retirement. So I just want to say here, sum it up, which is the most common ways of investing is a good way to get started and try to get that 7.2 rate of return. Okay, now that we know that, that's our foundation. We're jumping in here and we're going to learn these 3 rules of thumb. With those 3 things that we just discussed before, starting a career at age 22, working for 40 years, earning a 7.2% rate of return. If those things are true, then what's happening to this $1,000? Well, if it's gaining 7.2% for 10 years, it actually doubles. That's what's happening. That's the math. You don't even have to put another dollar in. If you started an account in one of those vehicles we talked about and put $1,000 in, come back in 10 years, it may have turned to $2,000. Well, definitely if it was earning 7.2% over that time, a common rate of return. Well, this is really good to know. If you ask someone what was happening to the money, most people don't know. This is a simple way of looking at a common scenario. Thus, the first financial epiphany. A single investment of money can double every 10 years. So we're taking 2 of the most simple concepts out there, doubling, and we're pairing it with one of my favorite numbers ever, 10. Money can double every 10 years, a single bit of money, not continuing to put money in, but just one bit. Now we can grasp what's happening. It's kind of like knowing how big an inch is on a ruler. We have a small measurement that we can use across our life. All right, so that is the first financial epiphany, that a single investment of money can double every 10 years. Now we know what's happening. But who works only 10 years? Most people, we said, work about 40. So if this were to continue, let's see how this goes. If you didn't do a thing else and you just let that money sit there in, say, a retirement plan like a 401k, what's happening? Well, if it continues to earn that 7.2, it just doubled again 10 years later. And let's say we left it in there again. Wow, it doubled again. 4,000 turned into 8,000 after 30 years. And 40-year career, remember we talked about that. What's happening? It doubled again without us even doing anything. We only put in the initial bit of money and it turned into $16,000 40 years later. So to simplify, now we understand the input and now we understand the output. We could simplify even further by saying money across a career can multiply by 16 times. But here's the thing. Most of us are not future-minded like that. Most of us are now-minded. We want immediate gratification. 40 years, like who wants to wait that long? I want some sort of results now. And so I was sitting at my dining room table and said to myself, well, okay, like how does this work? I get excited by this chart, but I know it takes patience. How do we flip this around to get this to work for other people? And this is what we do. We flip the chart. And when we flip the chart, it means something entirely different. It's no longer about growing money in an object over time. This is about a multiplying power we have now. This is an ability that we have now, this power of 16 to multiply money by 16 times. When we flip the chart like this shows us that we have ownership. And once again, we have an ability, like athletic ability, actually. NFL football players, Olympic ice skaters, and gymnasts, they tend to be at their prime in their early 20s, and many sports are like that. And money is just like that. A great myth is that when we make more money in our life, when we get promoted, when I'm older and wiser, that's when I'll get started. But money doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like our career. It works like this, more like athletics, where we start at our prime and it actually reduces over time. Now, you certainly can become savvy at investing in finances, and you can beat that common or simple scenario that I'm talking about. But the common American, we follow this path here, where we start with this multiplying power of 16. So that's financial epiphany number 2. We start our careers around age 22 with this multiplying power of 16 with our money. All right, so now we know what's happening across 40 years. Let's bring this back up, and we'll do the third financial epiphany here. If we start with the multiplying power of 16, look at this slope. What is happening? It's going downward, right? Well, if we wait 10 years, our multiplying power halves to the power of 8. Once again, we're looking at a common scenario here. Well, what happens 10 years later? It reduces to the power of 4, right? Generally speaking, we're just talking about basics here. And 10 years later, halves to the multiplying power of 2. Why? Because we can't plant a seed and hope that it's going to be a tree the next day. Investing takes time, right? And what happens here at the very end of our chart? Party time. It is time to retire and put your toes in the sand and drink a cold drink on a beach somewhere. Look at this chart and how it slopes down. Now we are understanding what is happening with multiplying power, generally speaking. And we're just going to throw the ages back on there at the bottom, so you can see what multiplying power matches up to what age. Financial epiphany number 3 says our multiplying power halves every 10 years, generally speaking. Now we know what's happening. This creates a sense of urgency. This is called loss aversion, when we know that we're actually losing our multiplying power. Now, when most people hear money grows, loss aversion says that losing something, multiplying power, has 2 to 3 times the impact than gaining the same amount. So we're using a psychological tool here to say, I am more likely to invest now that I know I'm losing multiplying power over time. So here are the 3 financial epiphanies one more time for you to see. Money can double every 10 years. We have the power of 16 when we start our careers, and our multiplying power halves every 10 years. So with this set of 3 rules of thumb, we can use these across our career and across our lifetime. And generally speaking, it's a rule of thumb. We can apply this to create an urgency to invest when we should, when we have the greatest multiplying power. This power of 16, what does this feel like? Well, if you worked a week of work and you got paid for that, that's what you signed up for. But if you worked a week of work and got paid for 2 weeks, you would be ecstatic. You just got paid double. That's amazing. But what's the power of 16 feel like? It's like working a week of work and getting paid for 4 months. That's what it's like. And I want you to understand that, and I want you to feel that working a week of work and getting paid for 4 months, that's what the power of 16 is like. And so when we're younger and starting our careers, we really should get on this. When older people are saying, I wish I could go back and save more earlier and do it all over again, that is what they're talking about. Let's move on 10 years, the power of 8. I met a fella who had $25,000 in his checking account, earning nothing. And when he realized he had the power of 8, he didn't have any retirement savings. So we moved it into a place where it could grow that 7.2% rate of return. And because he had the power of 8, we could do the math. That should turn $25,000 should turn into $200,000 when he retires. And that's a great start to his retirement account right there. And so he took action. Moving 10 years later, the power of 4. I talked to a middle-aged couple, and they weren't investing with a lot of confidence or vigor in their retirement. But when they realized they could multiply money by 4 times at their age, the power of 4, they maxed out their retirement accounts. They put in as much as they could because they realized it would multiply by 4 times. And then here, the power of 2 in our early 50s, generally speaking. I spoke to someone who realized they could double their money and they took action, but they also looked at their 22-year-old daughter who has the power of 16 and made sure she knew coming out of college that she had this multiplying power that was going to diminish over time. Age 62, the power of 1. Quick story here that I went to Sierra Leone, West Africa, and shot a video. And I know in your Rotaract Club, you have a lot of purpose-driven stuff and community-based stuff and give back and volunteer. Well, I shot a video there to show what this organization does that cares for the people over there through schools, churches, and clinics. I came back and the video showed at their fundraising event. And I sat next to a man named Ernie. And I thought, what do he and I have to do with each other? He's getting around with a cane. Turns out he sent me to go. He paid for my way to go. And he paid for the video too. A 100-hour project that I worked on. It wasn't cheap. We watched the video and he leans over to me at this fundraiser and he says, Scott, my wife and I drove here and we had decided how much we were going to give. Don't tell her, but I just doubled it. And what we found out is Ernie, he had extra and a surplus to be able to make a difference and to fund his purpose. And really, one of the reasons why I'm sharing this with you, your multiplying power, is so that you can take care of yourself, your family, but also your community. Because when you have surplus, you can really fund your purpose. 78% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. It's a common stat there. 77% are in debt. And there's a low level of financial literacy. So I know things look good out there. The cars we drive, the vacations we go on, and our life on Instagram. But really, most of us are living on the edge in order to display that. And that's a very important thing to know. So we don't have to go chasing after what we see. Taking advantage of your multiplying power now is actually really important. If people can earn that 7.2% rate of return, you have the power of 16 when you start your careers. But there's also other multiplying powers if you end up earning less than 7.2 or more, but the slope is still there. A multiplying power diminishes over time, so this is a good thing to know. The recap here, these are the 3 financial epiphanies, the 3 rules of thumb that you can take away, the stuff you can just do up right in your head. It's very simple. I hope that you can apply this and it makes a difference in your life to get you to take advantage of that multiplying power that you have.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming. I know that I learned a lot and I'm sure everybody else did too. I know that we all had great conversations. Thank you everyone for coming.